Hello everyone, welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best of 3 series. That's a GSL Code S qualifier match. It was played a couple of days ago and a lot of you have reached out and mentioned that apparently this series is amazing. So I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down. Because first off, in the top left-hand corner of the map, Babylon, playing here with the Red Protoss probes. We have one of the strongest Protoss players in the world and his name is Classic. Here's the thing though, his opponent. A man who's a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. He had a couple of months, I'll actually talk about that in just a little bit, where he just made an absurd amount of money, at the very least for StarCraft 2 standards. However, he hasn't really played that much ever since he completed his mandatory military service. From what I understand, he's splitting his attention between StarCraft 2 as well as StarCraft Brood War, but I don't actually know exactly what he's got done in Brood War so far yet either. But anyways, playing right here with the Blue Terran SCVs, likewise also from South Korea, we're looking inside of the main base of TY. Now, TY is, of course, an absolute legend, one of the, well, Terran greats. If you've been watching StarCraft 2 for a long time, you're probably well familiar with this man. I did feature him on the channel, I want to say maybe 4 months ago or so. I casted a series of him going up against maybe CEST? I'm not exactly sure. I casted a TVP. But ever since then, I have not really seen a whole lot of his matches. No, it can't have been CEST. 1 second. Ah, okay, it was Zaun. I knew it was about a Protoss player who was just gonna start up his mandatory military service as TY apparently returned, but CEST already started his quite a bit before that. Anyways, back in 2017, Mr. TY, who's by the way playing under a barcode, just to make it extra confusing for all of us, he ended up winning Kijkwijzer, which was the World Championships, for $100,000 for the first place prize. And then a little bit before that, I think 2 months earlier, he won the WESG for $200,000. So for StarCraft 2 standards, and I guess for any standards, right? But I know there's always somebody in the comment section who's like, well, Lowko, in Dota 2, every single tournament is $17 million. For StarCraft 2 standards, TY had an absolutely insane run in early 2017, and honestly, over the course of his career, he's been incredibly successful. Classic is currently looking incredibly good too. I don't really know exactly how in the world this series is gonna go for TY, because Classic genuinely is one of the very best Protoss players in the world right now. What I like about Classic's playstyle is that he plays this game a little bit differently than the other top-level Protosses. So Max Specs and Hero I would consider to be like, you know, the upper echelons of Protoss right now, and Classic is just below that, but he plays the strategies a little bit differently, so he doesn't focus on as much Blink Stalker play. He seems to be a little bit more defense-focused. Now, this is actually not a great start here for Classic whatsoever, though. It's a triple CC build right here on Babylon for TY, which is amazing. So this definitely does show that TY has been playing the game quite a bit, or at the very least he's aware of strategies that are good here. Because on this particular map, I mean, the most popular build from Protoss is usually going to be that Blink Stalker style, and usually, well, Blink Stalker against triple CC is really good for a Protoss player. However, on this particular map, you have this to blink into. Now, it's technically possible, but there's a bunch of mineral fields over here. There's a two-step as well. Sometimes Stalkers can get stuck. You don't have a lot of room to maneuver. You can have just like one siege tank somewhere in the back, and it can just fire away and cover most of the main. It's a difficult blink map. Instead, Classic decides to go for the Phoenix opener. Okay. So there's really not a whole lot that, yeah, Classic is going to be able to do against TY. I mean, the thing about the Phoenix opener is that usually the Phoenix opener is really good against Terran players that decide to go for Widow Mine drops, maybe a quick Raven move out, stuff like that. It's really difficult for the Terran to send units across the map, but with an opener like this, TY wants to stay at home, and Classic wants his opponent to stay at home as well, but preferably with a much smaller economy than Triple Command Center. So by the time that this third CC is done, we don't even have a third base started yet for Classic. Alright, Classic. He's gonna find out exactly what he plays against right now as he gets the Phoenix inside of his opponent's base. I mean, this is a clear moment. Yeah, this is a clear moment where you can just go ahead and send the probe out and you don't really have to worry about all too many units here for quite a while. We have to see what exactly he decides to transition into. How many Phoenixes is he gonna make? Is he gonna go straight into Colossus play? What exactly is the plan? I'm actually a little surprised Classic decided to keep Babylon in a best of 3 series against a Terran player. Like, this map is... well, I don't really know all the finer details here about what the pro gamers are thinking right now, but I've got a feeling most Protoss players are not a huge fan of playing Babylon against Terran. Alright, instant Robo Bay. We do have, okay, a couple of adept shading forward too, but yeah, there's a lot of Marines. And so far, the damage, it's there, right? 2 SCVs and a Marine. But it's certainly not amazing. Alright, finally, 5 minutes into the game, we have that starport fired up here as well for TY. So this so far is looking excellent right here for the Terran player. I'm actually very excited for this, man. There's a bunch of Terrans and Protosses that have recently returned, I guess. Like, quote-unquote returned. They've come back from the military and they're sort of playing the game. Like Stats, for example, as well. And we obviously have Innovation that also was playing some games again. Apparently, TY does feel like he's in a good enough shape to qualify for the GSL. And I guess we'll find out with this series. I actually don't know. So I'm excited for it. Okay, so instant Colossus play here. Third command center is gonna fly on over. And we've got the 3 additional barracks right now coming up as well for our Terran player. Classic already warping in a bunch of sentries, okay. Colossus number 1 is going to hit the battlefield, and we do have a very quick extended thermal lens. Now, extended thermal lens is an excellent upgrade. One thing you can sort of do as Protoss here is commit to more Phoenixes, right? That would make them less useless. Because, I mean, a little bit of damage. They haven't really achieved that much, but the problem is if you make more than this amount of Phoenixes, right? So you make a whole load of them. Then your Colossus transition is actually... Ooh, what? Is actually going to be very late. Okay, now this may be the reason why Classic decided to play this map regardless. This is actually a really cheeky move out. Normally it's the Terran player who's in charge of the very first attack. But apparently that's not the case. Look, the Marines are stimming away right now, trying to get those Phoenixes away. Excellent force field, number 2, number 3. Okay. You love to see it. Cute little move right here from Classic. Normally, this is a very dangerous decision, right? Because this is before you get really any of your upgrades out. At the same time, oh, this is where all of those TY units were at. At the same time, there was apparently a medevac drop. This is likely not going to be all too successful. The recall there allowing the Protoss player to come back home nice and quickly. Cute little move right there from Mr. Classic. Now extended thermal lens is done as well. This is not the moment to attack TY. Whew. Okay. That could have been an absolute disaster. I don't think you want to be stimming pure Marine into somebody who's got Colossi with range and a bunch of force fields. Okay, not pure Marine. I saw you. But let's just say you're not gonna eat that many lasers. Okay, okay. So, in the end, 15 SCV kills, 15 Marine kills as well. For, well, 8... Actually, there's more probe... Oh, I accidentally hit the pause button. There were more probes killed there at the third base than I realized. But now we've got ourselves, yeah, potential attacking opportunity right now for our Protoss player, right? I mean, you don't really have to, though. Now, he decides to go for the 4th. What's difficult is that now Terran has really started producing, well, units that aren't Marines, right? So we've got Marauders, we've got Siege Tanks, we've got a little bit of Sim City here. We're gonna go into... Okay, apparently one of the Siege Tanks is stuck. Alright, there you go, buddy. Couldn't go all the way around. There's a Ghost Academy coming up right now, too. Okay. Yeah, 4th Nexus here, all the way at the 12 o'clock position. And we're just gonna double down on our production here. Now, are we gonna go into an attack here, TY? Because the Ghost Academy, I mean, it's not... Well, it's finishing up right now, but if we're not having Ghost out on the battlefield just yet, I do believe... Did he actually... Where's the prison? Oh, okay, it's with the army. Ah, okay, I thought he was actually gonna just do a flyby into the Terran's main base. This is apparently the moment where Classic decides to go for a cheeky little push. Alright, getting a siege tank is not bad. He's warping in 2 very menacing zealots. Hallucinated Colossus here as well, and this particular fight is working out nicely here for our Protoss player. As long as he doesn't lose his heavy hitters. So those Colossi, yeah, and that Immortal, they're very important to keep alive. He did lose the sentries, which does kind of suck. Observer there ends up getting sniped. Not a problem. Okay, yeah, losing the sentries is a little bit pricey. But the thing is, there's gonna be an attack here coming out of the Terran player in just a moment. He's not actually adding on any ghosts. So if he's not adding on any ghosts, it's a clear indicator that he wants to go for an attack here very soon. He is getting the armory. It's a little bit mistimed. He is gonna be able to go. Okay, he does go for a 4th CC. I really don't think TY should be sitting back against this. Because this would be the moment, especially now that the sentries are gone, this would be the moment where he can certainly try his hand at, well, dealing damage. The only thing that he needs to worry about, though, is, of course, the Disruptors. The Disruptors are very scary units. With Purification Nova, they can accidentally kill everything. I guess, by the way, that the Prism was with the main army, specifically because of the fact that the Vikings had already found that pylon here at the bottom. Zealot over here sees the timing of the CC. Ghosts are actually out now. I mean, they're coming out right now. I'm a little surprised he's decided to sit back. Because at this point, I mean, the economy here, yeah. We have 3,300-ish minerals a minute here for Protoss versus 2,700 or so for the Terran player. Did the Prism just... Really? I was keeping an eye out on it. Not good enough. Sorry, I backed up like 10 seconds in the replay. So the Zealots at the very least do stay out of the vision range right there of the Vikings. But killing that Prism is huge, right? Because normally with siege tanks, you go for an attack that is a little slow. Protoss is gonna force you to siege up a couple of times. You have to like slowly attack forward and then eventually create a choke on one of these bases. With the Prism out of the equation, you don't have to worry about a Zealot warping in the main base or a bunch of Zealots over here at the third. Definitely nice to get that out of the way. At this point, yeah, we are gonna go into, a third robo facility. Everything powered by a single powered by a single pylon. There you go. A little bit dangerous, but yeah, he doesn't really want to cut into his Disruptor production all too much. TY right now going for a little bit of a move out. Okay. Does see the Protoss army sitting there, and that's actually a really cool move. Yeah, so Classic has seen the timing of the 4th command center, and he knows that it's gonna be done right about right now, so he moves in. He doesn't know about the fact that this Terran player is coming straight for the throat. He's gonna go straight for the natural expansion here. Yeah, I really like this. Okay, never mind. He's gonna go for the third base. I think he should go straight for the natural expansion. That's where all the tech is at. You can go straight into the main base too. Classic could go ahead and recall if he wants to. Apparently, though, he does not want to. Now, base raising a Terran is always scary because their structures can fly. Base raising a Protoss, though, is also scary because they can always recall. Okay, we are gonna go into the main base here. At least we're attempting it. I mean, there's Liberators there. Are there any siege tanks in this location? I mean, there's a lot of units clumped up together. I love the fact that he's brought the other Liberators back home. Classic, I don't think you're gonna go into that main base, man. He's already lost 1 Colossus, a whole lot of Stalkers. 2nd Colossus not too far behind. In the meantime, though, yeah, we have that Terran army going to town on the 3rd, going to town on the 4th. Natural is already gone. Main base right now in a little bit of trouble, too. I think Classic probably regrets not recalling here. Oh, actually, that worked out quite nicely there. He's gonna be able to blink now underneath the Liberators. Turns out there's not that many siege tanks. I love the liftoffs right here on those Vikings, though. Trying to keep all of this alive. Nicely done. We do have a bunch of probes here, apparently, on the right side of the map. SCVs stuck in the main base. The problem is, yeah, this Terran army, man, it is gonna be reinforced with a whole bunch of Terran structures. The Terran is apparently ready for the grand evacuation of the main base, except for the starport and the factory. Okay, never mind. The factory gets to take off too. Not the starport, though. Screw that structure in particular. We have a Nexus over here on the left side of the map, but TY finds that one too. Okay, +3 is actually not too far from finishing. I really think TY should target that down. But, okay, he's in a little bit of trouble here. He's concerned about, well, the evacuation, right? He needs to make sure that he gets back to safety. He just sniped his opponent's last Nexus, or at the very least his last finished Nexus, because a new Nexus has just started up at what was previously the 4th base of the Terran player. Apparently this is now going to be a full-on base switch, though, because TY is headed he's headed on over, rather, towards the Protoss' natural. And apparently Classic, in the meantime, is just taking whatever he can. Now even going for the base all the way in the top right-hand corner. Getting those command centers is actually really nice. I think he just got a single one there. Yeah, he actually killed a command center. Well, that was the 4th, and then also an orbital command. It's a lot of Marines and Marauders, though, roaming the map. 2 is a lot, okay? Or 3 is a lot of Marauders, apparently. Ah, he gets another one. Actually really nice. Problem is, TY has created a natural in the, or a Wolof rather, in the natural of the Protoss player. And good luck trying to break that. I just don't see how that's going to work out. Here's a recall being used. Apparently a bunch of probes end up arriving here. They're gonna spoil this. Okay, well, maybe sort of spoil the surprise. I would imagine that TY, yeah, he saw the direction that those probes were headed to, so it is pretty obvious where the next expansion was gonna be. And that one is gonna be all the way in the top right-hand corner. I mean, at this point, Classic is just chasing down these units. He's got really no way to break his own natural expansion anymore. And now apparently this is the time where, well, Classic is gonna start reproducing. Yeah. He's just gonna rebuild whatever he can. I mean, this is the unit composition that Classic has to win the game with. He doesn't have enough money in the bank anymore to make another expansion. So he's gonna need to win with this particular attack right here. EMPs absolutely demolishing the shields right there on all of those zealots. That being said, okay, yeah, the Purification Novas, they try their very best, but TY wins game number 1 over Classic. Alright, game number 2, we find ourselves on Gresven. Now, I was just looking at the list of notable participants for the GSL Code S for this second season. And apparently Estrella decided to participate, Classic of course, Creator, Hero, Chance, Lunacy, Nice, Nightmare, and then also Stats. So that's all of the Protoss players. Good to see Stats apparently still feeling pretty good. Now for Terran, we had Control. The American Terran player Future apparently decided to try. Gumiho, Hanmono, Keen, Percival, Quanta, Ryung, another player who already completed his service, well, quite a while ago. Special, of course, TY, and then Ziggy. And then for Zerg, we had Armani, Dark, DRG, Ragnarok, Scarlet, Solar, and Sue. Sue, by the way, haven't really seen that many of his games over the last few months. It seems like he is struggling adjusting a little bit at the very least after completing his mandatory service. Which kind of sucks. I actually kind of feel like the current patch must not be too bad for somebody like Sue, who really likes playing that mid-game based army, right? I mean, he's not really a late-game player, but he's usually very good at swarming opponents, and that seems to be a style we see quite a bit right now, but apparently maybe having a hard time adjusting back to the game. I mean, he's still very good. It's just, you know, in order to participate at the absolute top of the game, it's really difficult to get back into the swing of things when you're forced to take like a 2-year break. Dark, by the way, also participating, which I still find kind of ironic. I really feel like I've heard Dark say for like a year now that, no, this is probably going to be my last tournament because I have to start up my mandatory military service very soon. I can't participate in that many anymore, so cheer for me, guys, because this is going to be my last... I feel like I've heard him say that literally half a dozen times now. But apparently, he's once again participating. Okay, so... we've got the barracks outside the main base. Now, I know there's a lot of you wondering, Loco, what does this achieve? Honestly, I am not so sure that it really achieves anything anymore. Because it's not like Protoss players. Like, Protoss will make a Zealot, okay? So this is really what the ultimate result is going to be. Because Protoss is a little bit scared that there might be a bunch of barracks on their side of the map. So they decide to, well, make what is considered to be kind of a terrible unit until charge is done. Right? So Zealot's not very useful. But at the same time, TY, I mean, yeah, he is... forced his opponent into a Zealot, maybe, because he can't know. He doesn't know. He can't scout when he's, well, forced to send the Reaper back into the main base. Plus, if you're really trying to get a reactor going here really quickly to start producing Marines, you're also not getting it as quickly as... There's really no reason for these random barracks outside of the main base. I really don't think it gives you a whole lot of benefits as Terran, but Terran players, they really like it. It's a tradition. Let's just say it's a tradition. Adept coming forward. Command center coming up here as well. We've got ourselves a second barracks here close to the mineral line. And this is now the moment where you really need those Marines. Reaper has decided to go across the map. But of course the Marines, well, they're not out yet because they take a little while to build because the reactor is late. So, I mean, now you scout a Nexus. Good job. He did get 2 kills, by the way. 2 probe kills is actually much better than I would have anticipated. I didn't quite realize he was going to get that many. Seems a little bit excessive, but apparently the Adepts decided to go straight across the map. In a way, you also kind of force yourself into Cyclones because your opponent is going for a Zealot. I don't know, man. I'm really not sold on what we used to call a Mecha Rex. You guys remember Mecha Rexes? You remember the Terran player Mecha? This is like StarCraft 2 boomer history, though. I want to say Mecha was a Terran player in like... I want to say 2011? Let's see. He's 31 years old right now, born in 1991. And yeah, his years active were 2010 through 2012. He retired on the 13th of January in 2013. Man, that's more than a decade ago. I am really old. But anyways, Mecha Rex, yeah, that was, or Mecha Rodder was the very first Terran player who would start doing these randomly positioned barracks. in Premier tournaments, and Protoss at the time was like, if there's no barracks inside of their main base, it must mean that they're cheesing me! And, you know, Protoss players would freak out and never actually expand and just sort of sit there behind their wall. And in the meantime, the barracks just flew back into the main base and produced a reactor, and everybody's like, yo, this was a small commitment for Terran. And Protoss absolutely freaked out. But in 2023, believe it or not, after a decade, people have figured out how to deal with these quote-unquote mecha Rexes. People know. I'm actually very interested in what some of these pro gamers do after completing their, you know, military service and after being done with the game. Like, we don't really know. A lot of Koreans especially, they just kind of, you know, they don't really use, I guess, Western social media as much. Some of them are pretty active, but a lot of them just sort of disappear. I would love to know what some of these guys are up to. Especially some of the big guys from back in the day, right? It'd be really sick to know a little bit more, but anyhow. Third Nexus here after a Phoenix into Colossus opener here once again for Classic. TY going for a little siege tank attack. Not surprising whatsoever. He doesn't have a third command center yet. So he's really just trying to double down on, well, as much here as possible. He's even pulling some of the boys. So of course siege tanks are really good on some maps, and Gressven is definitely one of them. I don't think you want to be giving away your Cyclones though. If you're a Terran player taking notes here, giving up your Cyclone like that, not quite worthwhile. You do really want to try and keep as many of these units alive. Siege tank force field, I think that's helping out the Protoss player, or less than the Terran. But anyways, a couple of the Marines, I guess, were sort of stuck behind it. Okay, okay, I was gonna say, that Immortal really needs the battery overcharge in order to stay alive properly. Do we have enough Phoenixes to lift all of this up? So, Colossus is coming. But I've got a feeling that, okay, yeah, he knows that the Colossus is coming too. That missile turret is gonna be kind of helpful. If this third Nexus dies, it's still not great for Terran, but at least it's gonna be a lot more playable. Problem is it going to go down? I think it might. Oh, yeah, getting the Immortal is real good. Getting the third Nexus alone, though, not quite enough, but getting this many units in the process, certainly quite good, right? I would have rather seen Protoss player seen the Protoss player here give up that third base a little bit quicker. He needs to be very careful. Love this. TY just going for essentially a 2-base all-in. Yeah, just producing siege tanks, just producing Marines. Stimpack is not even done yet, so this is just a combat shield-based attack. The reason why he's delaying Stimpack for such a long time is that he doesn't have any Medivacs to heal up his units. So every time you stim, I mean, sure, your damage output goes up, but it's also very risky. Look at that, by the way. TY forcing Jimmy here to stand out front to try and, well, soak up maybe a Colossus hit, but also to provide those siege tanks with as much range to shoot as possible. Classic sees all of this coming in from a mile away, and he decides to actually go for a Void Ray. Normally one of the worst units he can make in this matchup, but I actually don't disagree with him here. He needs to break out of this. He's actually still fine, economically speaking. The problem is, yeah, he is pushed further and further back into his own natural base. Okay, those Colossi though, with battery overcharge. Lovely work. Almost killing the siege tanks. Not quite though. And the SCVs, I mean, they were here to build structures, but they can also be used to repair those tanks back up to full. We've got a Void Ray coming in from the side, but Marines are also close enough to protect that. Okay. Classic going for a little bit of maybe a run-by. Going for a gateway here in the top section of the map too. This is actually such a dangerous push though. For all intents and purposes, a complete all-in here for TY. The thing is, he can always fly his command center away, and as a matter of fact, he's even made a third CC here on the back of this. Right now, I mean, this is really justified. This particular attack of his is working out wonders. And Classic must realize it. Yeah, he's decided to go for a base here at the bottom of the map. He's been warping in Zealot after Zealot in the top section. Maybe he wants to go for a full surround as soon as charge is done, but that's still a long time away. He's gonna need to trash this army in order to obtain the victory, but those missile turrets, I mean, they're used as anti-air, but the anti-air can also be shot at these Colossi. Okay, maybe this is good though. Getting a siege tank, okay. Phoenix lift into a siege tank surround, you love to see it. At this point, though, that has also sort of spoiled the surprise. Yeah. Siege tank stays alive, and this is going from bad to worse right now for Classic. TUI, oh my god. He's even gonna grab all of those zealots. Look at him body blocking there with the Marines. I mean, that was a Stimpack, so at the very least, some of that Terran army, I guess, is quote-unquote gone. We've got a Colossus here trying his best. One Disruptor just bowling at whatever he can. Classic realizes that he is in a really rough spot. Now, the one saving grace right here for Classic is this base here at the bottom. Yeah. So there's a recall for about half the probes in the main base, all the way down south. And this may actually stabilize him. We've got an SCV checking out that location up north, but he doesn't know about the base just below it. This is very sneaky by Classic, but I think it may actually just barely work out for him. Now the Zealots are coming in for counterattack. Okay, that was unfortunate. I think he could have easily split that off. Now there's no charge available either to deal with these Marines and these Marauders, so yeah, quite a few of these Zealots are gonna end up falling. Oh man, if only TY knew about that base. All the way at the bottom. Because this actually makes the income, I mean, not great, but at the very least, it makes the game a whole lot more playable. What was that? Sorry. Oh, it was just the Observer, I think. I was gonna say. Yeah, okay. It's within the vision range right there of TY's missile turret, so... I was gonna say, if that was a Prism going down, that would kind of suck. Slowly but surely, Classic is starting to stabilize. Problem is, he's still gonna have to commit to fighting this at some point. There's no ghost transition or anything like that just yet, and I don't mind seeing that. Although I think we should really just have workers going around the map scouting every possible expansion. Because what exactly are the odds right now that Protoss is still on 2 bases? I mean, if he is still on 2 bases, it would mean that Protoss is running out of juice. The main base is running out. The natural is not going to be too far behind either. Okay. Classic, bowling a strike. Trying his very best at the very least to get as much value out of those Disruptors as possible. And yes, he bowls a strike with 2 balls. It's insane. Apparently this is the moment where we may commit. The shenanigans here in the top section of the map got spotted once again. That's a single Archon going down and, well, the point of reinforcements also going down. These units are stuck. There's no recall available, so apparently he's almost forced his hand. This is the time where Protoss decides to try and break out of their own natural expansion. He's been stuck for the majority of the game, but I think he's managed to pull it off. The problem is, supply-wise, this is still heavily in favor of the Terran player, but hats off right here to Classic for playing this so patiently. He must realize though, man, this base here, he's gotten very lucky that this base hasn't been spotted. He must realize that he's still in a very, very shaky position. Blink is not done yet. As a matter of fact, it only just now started. We're gonna need to see that base here put down very quickly because we need more economy. Protoss is not really currently in a position where they can go for one final assault and win the game. Right? Like, that's not really the... He may try. The problem is, right, those Archons, as soon as Ghosts are out, are gonna take a beating. They're gonna get destroyed. So, in Classic's mind, he's probably looking at his army, and like half of his good units are Archons. Maybe not quite half, but he also must know, okay, now this base here at the bottom got spotted. This could have been a win already for TY, but he must realize that he probably needs to go for an attack if he wants to obtain the victory. Once again, good vision right here by TY. He's gonna see this army coming in from a mile away. There's not really a whole lot available here for the Protoss to reinforce this with, but that's not the plan. He wants to win the game right here, right now. Very solid dodges here on those Purification Novas. Siege tanks dealing a ton of damage. Classic starting to break through all of these expensive Terran units right now. At the same time, though, there's a drop in that main base. Okay, the main base of our Protoss player in a little bit of trouble. In the meantime, there's also a base in the bottom left-hand corner that's now getting destroyed. That explains where all of those Terran units and all that Terran supply was at. Missile turret ends up getting the kill right there on the Colossus, which may actually be absolutely critical here. There's not that many units remaining here for a Protoss player. He's now lost his economy too, and while he did break through these very important Terran units here at the front, he's lost all of his economy in the process. I think TY is doing it. Unless he takes a massive disruptor hit to the face, I just don't see pickup. Yep. Well, that was still pretty good actually, but I don't see how Classic is gonna be able to obtain the victory here. And indeed, it's TY who obtains the victory, 2-0 over Classic. Hey, if you enjoyed watching this video, please take a second that it takes to hit the like button down below. I know it's kind of annoying that I ask, but it really does help. If you didn't enjoy it, you can always hit the dislike button as well, guilt-free. But I mean, I would be surprised if you made it all the way until the end of this video and then, you know, just wasted your last half hour. Anyways, for now, have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again tomorrow for another video.